So what I'm going to talk about today is how to pay off your credit card bills every single month. Hi, it's Pamela Ferguson, and I was reading an article recently about finances and how to reduce debt. And it's always something that I've been so interested in and really have a personal love for that I kind of wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about that. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to pay off your credit card bills every single month. You're like, what? Pay off my credit card bills every single month? Now, if you're already behind the 8 ball and you have a large balance, you know, we have to adjust a little bit for this. However, moving forward, you should never have to pay the interest rate on those credit cards because they're ridiculously high. I mean, I've seen them as high as 25. You know, you're good if it's like 14. And all of those are ridiculous. None of those should be paying for it. You are paying so much more in interest than you ever did for the item that you actually bought. Now, my whole life growing up, really into my early adulthood, that's how I lived. I just paid the minimum and that's the way it was. And what happens with your balance when you do that? It just grows and grows and grows. And you're like, well, I'm paying my bills, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing great. And they're like increasing your limit because what you're paying every month is the interest, maybe a teeny little bit of principal. And I was like, well, I just thought life was great, right? And it's no wonder that people don't have any sort of net worth or any sort of savings anymore because people are looking for that immediate gratification. They're like, ooh, I'm just gonna go out to eat, or I'm gonna take this vacation, or I'm gonna buy this Apple Watch, or whatever you decide to do, instead of saying, hey, you know, I really shouldn't spend more than I have to spend. Obviously, there are situations like, well, your car breaks down, you need to repair your car, there's medical expenses, things like that. However, as in a regular kind of thing, we're not looking for those exceptions. We're looking on a daily thing. So you need to not be purchasing things if you can't pay it off every month. You can do a couple things. If you're like, okay, this is how much all I have to spend after, you know, you can say, okay, this is how much I take home out of my check. This is how much my rent or mortgage is. This is how much my car payment is. This is approximately how much I spend on food, going out, whatever expenses are. And you can do one of two things to be able to determine that. Go through your credit card receipts. It is tedious and annoying, but it's very enlightening at the same time. Or if you do it through debit cards, you can do it through, you know, do it online and see what it is. But categorize each one and say, okay, where am I spending my money? Well, this is how much, you know, this is how much I have to pay my bills. And then you say, okay, well, my goal is to pay it off every month. So what you need to do is that if you need to take a little notepad with you and just add the amounts, and you're like, okay, I'm starting at, I don't know, my credit card, I can spend $300 a month, whatever it may be. So you start at $300, right? And then you go and say, oh my gosh, these shoes are so cute. Then you go, okay, minus $62, whatever. And you can keep a running tally so you know when that bill comes due, you are going to be able to pay for that. Of course, that doesn't tackle any of the current debt that's already on there. And that you obviously have to pay additional money to help bring that down. So if your minimum payment is $25 and you charge $350 this month, you pay the $350, but you don't pay any extra, that's great. You just paid everything you bought that month, but that amount is still there. So you're still gonna have to pay extra on that. Your goal should be to get you where you have a zero balance every month. It may take a while to get there, and that's okay. That's okay. But your goal should be to, you know, at the end of the month when it's done, you just make the payment and you're done, right? You can just pay for everything because you know how much it's going to be and you can just pay it. The only exception would be if you had some sort of emergency. If you were just dumb and didn't write it down, or you're like, I just really, really wanted to go out to eat with my friends, you have to make other sacrifices. You have to make other sacrifices because if you can only spend X amount on your credit card, then that's all you can spend. So we want to avoid paying any interest at all. So for me, when I get a credit card, they're like, oh, your rate just changed from here to here to here. And I don't even pay attention. You know why? Because I never pay credit card interest, ever. Because if I can't pay for it off that month, I don't buy it. Some people who really struggle with keeping track of things will use debit cards. That's okay. I do like the protection of a traditional credit card versus a debit card, because if somebody gets your number, they can drain your whole account. That there's some limits. I think there's more limits unless it's changed. And if it's changed, let me know, because maybe that's interesting. That's good. But if it hasn't changed, credit card was more protective of those kinds of things. And also, the great thing about credit cards versus debit cards is that they give you all sorts of rewards. You can get cash back, you can get mileage, you can get points, you can get all sorts of things that if you pay with a debit card, typically, unless your bank is amazeballs, you don't get. Now, I would go with something, the best it could be, but, you find out what works for you. But so that is going to be your goal. Pay your credit cards off every single month and start paying down that balance so you can get it to zero. If you have any questions, reach out, let me know. Hopefully, have a great day.